Which programming language should I learn? The best programming language ultimately depends on what you're going to build. If you don't know what you want to build, where do you want to go? What do you want to become? Do you want to be a web developer, a mobile app developer, a back-end engineer, maybe a full-stack developer? Do you want to get into machine learning, automation, artificial intelligence? The list goes on. The reality is that you're probably going to need to learn more than one language throughout your journey. I recently learned Python because I needed to use it for one of the projects that I have. And to be honest, I found it very easy. But once you've learned the fundamentals of programming, you should be able to pick up new languages and frameworks anyway. For the majority of people, you only really need to choose between two languages, JavaScript and Python. I know this is a controversial opinion because I've only picked two, but I'll tell you why. First of all, I know that HTML and CSS are very important, but they're not programming languages. So the reasons why I only think you should pick between JavaScript and Python are, these two languages are among the most popular in the world, so you can always rely on the documentation to be well maintained. And there is going to be lots of help available online. And if you get stuck, in most cases you can just Google the answer, because it's more than likely that someone else has run into the same problem that you're facing. Let's just clear the air and say all of us software developers use Google to find answers anyway. These two languages also have the widest variety of use cases, so for someone who's just starting out, you're going to have a lot of doors open to you. For example, if you pick Swift as your first programming language, unless you wanted to solely be a Swift developer, I'd say you're making a mistake. Why? Because with Swift, you can only become a Swift developer. With JavaScript and Python, you can become a huge range of types of developer. So let's try and figure out which one is best for you. Keep in mind that you can learn both of these, but you just need to pick one to start. If you're wanting to be someone who works with any kind of front-end application, JavaScript is the way to go. The front end of websites are built using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So if you're wanting to build a website at any point, you need to learn JavaScript. If you're wanting to become someone who builds mobile apps for iOS and Android, in most cases I'd recommend JavaScript. Why? Because of frameworks like React Native. React Native is a JavaScript-based framework that enables you to build mobile apps for iOS and for Android devices. So you don't need to learn specific languages to build an app for iOS and an app for Android. If you're wanting to build any server-side functionalities such as REST APIs, WebSockets, and scheduled functions, JavaScript has a great framework called Node.js where you can do this, which is perfect if you've just created a web app and want to connect it to a backend or a database. But you can also use Python to develop backend systems as well. Now, here's where things get interesting. My advice is that if you're ever wanting to develop any of the front-end applications that have been mentioned in this video, you should learn JavaScript, because you can always develop a backend for your project in Node.js. Python comes in handy if you're wanting to get into any of the following: artificial intelligence, machine learning, task automation, data analysis, and the list goes on. There are libraries and frameworks out there that will allow you to do all of these with JavaScript, but none of them are perfect. So why is Python good for these types of projects? Well, firstly, and for a more basic reason, there are a lot of libraries out there that can do most of the grunt work for you. Because remember, us programmers are lazy. And in most cases, to be honest, there's no shame in using a reliable, well-maintained library, especially if it decreases your build time. The community around Python is also heavily focused on artificial intelligence, machine learning, data analysis, and automation. So like I said at the start of this video, you're going to have well-maintained documentation and lots of help available online. So now you should have a better idea on which programming language you should start learning. If this video hasn't answered your question, it's likely that you have a very specific interest, in which case I'd recommend looking at what other developers within your area of interest are using to develop the types of project that you're interested in. If you're just starting out, I'd recommend learning the fundamentals first, which is why case-specific languages that are only really good for one or two things are definitely not the way forward. There is no true one-size-fits-all to programming, which is why, like I said at the start of this video, you're probably going to need to learn more than one programming language over the course of your career. If this video has helped you, I would love it if you could drop a like down below and subscribe. Thank you ever so much for watching. See ya.